Cool. Okay, so interview skills. Let's have a look. And again, just if you have any questions, just feel free to put them in chat or just come online, use your mics. You can ask me questions during the presentation or you can ask at the end, entirely up to you. So I'm just going to share my screen. And now we're in present mode. So maybe you can just, one of you turn on your mic and just let me know that you can see the screen here. Can one of you just let me know? Can you just unmute your mic?
Yes, sure. I can see.
You can see, good. Just checking. Thanks a million.
You're welcome.
Okay, so interview skills. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the main thing, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Okay, so that's the big thing. So just like everything else, interviews, you need to prepare for them, okay? And there's some very common questions that are asked at interviews. Of course, you're occasionally going to be thrown a curveball. There's going to be something on there that you don't quite know the answer to. But generally, if you can be prepared for most of the questions, then of course your confidence is going to increase throughout the interview. You're going to be asked a question and you're going to know the format on how to answer it. So we're going to go through some of these formats. Of course, there are other types of interviews. There's lots of types of interviews now. You've telephone interviews, your video interviews, which I guess are being used a lot at the moment. You've group interviews. So I'll give you some comments and tips on some of those at the end of the lecture. So again, the things you do need to know: your experience, your education, your skills, basically your CV. You do need to know what's in it. And I would suggest that when you are for an interview, that you make sure you have lots of copies of your CV, just so that you can come back and you know, and in case somebody else. Sorry, I just need to come back out of share there for a second. There we go. Just leave somebody else in. So what I'm saying there is that you need to know your CV. So when you're going to an interview, make sure you have a couple of copies of your CV, because you may have to give one away. It'll be the day the printer's broken or something's happening, and that people can't print out your CV. So make sure that you have a few spare copies just in case, and make some notes on them. Make some short little notes just to say the important things, to make sure that you're getting the most important parts of the interview, what you need to say across. So the next slide here, things you need to know: your CV, the job description, very important. Some people don't save the job description and you really need to. It doesn't stay online forever. As soon as the job has been advertised for a week or so, it's taken down. So it's really important when you're applying for a job that you take a screen grab, or you print out a copy, or you store it digitally somewhere, because the job description will give you the key elements of what you're going to be asked in an interview. So you really need to read the job description and refer to it. So for example, those questions about what do you think the job is about, you answer those by knowing the job description and listing out the details of the job description. So even if you're going for the same types of jobs, please make sure you do keep copies of the job description, because some duties may be more relevant or more important to one company over another. So you do need to be aware of the ranking, the order that they were mentioned in the job description. And that should usually tally up with their most important requirements. So the first thing they're looking for is possibly the most important thing to them. You need to know about the company, so do your research. This comes up a lot, and I will be talking about it in a further workshop about cover letters. Why do you want to work for the company? And you really need to be specific here. You need to be authentic, and a great place to look for information here is LinkedIn. Follow the companies that you are applying to and see what are they posting about themselves recently. What are they doing in the COVID-19 crisis? Are they doing something that's a bit altruistic, and is that appealing to your personal nature? Are they sustainable? Are you interested in the environment? Are you interested in certain products, particular type of service they provide? You really need to be authentic here, and the way to do that is to do your research, but also make sure your research is current. Have they won awards? Are they one of the best places to work in Ireland? You need to dig and you need to research and find something that aligns to your own values. Therefore, then it comes across very much more authentic when you're writing it in a cover letter or when you're asked in an interview. So, of course, you need to know where the company was founded, who the CEO or managing director is, maybe how many people in the company. You need to know the products and services that they provide. But you also need to explain to me about why you want to work for this company. Because if I'm torn between you and somebody else, and you come up with this really passionate, detailed answer that aligns completely with a lot of the values of the company, then you are putting yourself in a much better position to get that job. Your project work in college. So if you haven't got work experience in your discipline, your project work in college is really key. So you need to be able to talk about this in detail. And as I mentioned in our CV workshop, if you can add hyperlinks or evidence your project work, so it's really proof of those skills that you're saying you have, proof of that academic knowledge that you're also saying you have. Personal projects, again, these are additional projects you could be doing in your own time that align to a particular role or a particular company. So, for example, a lot of students currently are doing some of the free online learning courses in areas that are not covered by the course content but are required for the jobs that they want. So that's really something that you guys should be thinking about and looking at. And then again, it's a great thing to be able to talk about in an interview. So again, we're looking at different ways that you can have experience without it necessarily being work experience. Continue professional development. Again, this relates back to any kind of additional learning that you're doing on top of your academic work. And then your key achievements. And if you can make those relevant to the key areas of the job, what are the key skills in the job? And then if you can relate those key achievements to the key skills required for that particular job. So again, we're going back to the job description. You need to know what the key skills are in the job description. So a good bit of research is involved here, and this is this idea of preparation. And again, everybody's nervous when it comes to interviews, but if we can answer questions and we're well prepared, we're going to come across less nervous and we're going to settle into the interview. So company research, just to touch on it again, and again, these slides and this whole workshop is going to be posted and I'll put it up on Moodle later on today. So what products, services, clients, who runs the company, head office, all that kind of stuff, when the company was founded. But really the most important piece here is, why do you want to work here? And again, I can't stress enough that that needs to be authentic. And I see it time and time again when I review cover letters for students. It's the one part of the cover letter, and it's the most important part of the cover letter, and it's the part that students struggle with the most, because you do need to dig deep, really research and find something that connects you to that particular company. And that's what I mean by being authentic. Again, this is a place to look. So when you're doing your research for any interview, have a look here. Glassdoor can be very useful. There are a lot of questions and answers posted on there. So people share on Glassdoor, which is also an employment and work website. But they share their experiences from interviews. So they say, maybe they tell you what kind of questions they've been asked, how they answered them, how they felt about the interview or the interview process in general. For example, there was an online application, then there was a short 10-minute interview, then there was an assessment day, then there was a final interview. So again, I guess we're familiar now, or we're beginning to know that interviews can be 4-5-part process. Who's interviewing you? So if you know You might not know for the first interview, but as the interviewing moves along, you are more likely to be told who's going to interview you. So you can research them on LinkedIn. I mean, use LinkedIn. It's a fantastic tool when you're job hunting. So research them. Where did they go to school? Where did they go to college? Have they got any links on there to things they published? What do they specialize in? This is absolutely work. There are some CCT graduates out there who have gotten jobs because they have done and used this approach. They've checked the people out on LinkedIn and they found an area of research that particular interviewers had completed, and they focused, they navigated the interview round to talk about that particular topic, and they were knowledgeable in it and able to contribute, and it really impressed the interviewer. So again, it's just another way. So remember, you've got your Glassdoor. Research the people on LinkedIn. Where have they worked before? What kind of jobs have they had before? And again, you can use this if somebody has this amazing job and you want to know how they got that job. Again, you can use LinkedIn. If you find them, you'll see their whole employment history, and you can see, well, what did they do first, and what did they study, and did they study anything else afterwards. So it can be a great tool to use. This is something you can do and you don't need to learn off. So I know with interviews that a lot of it is learning things off by heart, as we say here, to be able to repeat in an interview. Now, your questions don't have to be memorized. You can write these questions out, and I would suggest you do write them out. You can put them on the back of your CV along with the key points. And what I mean by the key points, you might have some bullet points on your CV, and it might be smile because you forget to smile, or it could be don't fold your arms because you fold your arms at an interview and that looks defensive. It might be remember to mention your project work in software development using Java. It might be remember to mention in your interview a YouTube video you made on some project that you mentored. So, you need to see what their key points are, and make a few little bullet points on your CV that prompt you to not forget really, really important information to put across at the interview. So, the kind of questions that you should be asking are about the job description. So look at the job description again. Is there something that's a bit unclear? Because this is a great way to prove that you've actually read the job description. So you could say, for example, oh, I was looking at the job description and it says that I would be a liaison person between international and national departments. What particular departments would those be? What would be my liaison role in those instances? It could be what kind of software do you use in particular? In terms of the skills list, what would you say are the most important? Do I need to have excellent or very advanced Excel or Microsoft Project, or would I be programming more in Java or Python? So you're really asking about the nuts and bolts of the job. So the best questions here are the questions that it's day one, you're about to start the job. What do you need to know? Do you work on Windows? Do you work on Linux? Those kind of questions. The second is about the company. So I see from your website you've X, Y, and Z. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Just make sure that the information that you're asking them isn't readily available online. So when you are asking information about the company, it could be something that you're interested in. Have they ever considered getting involved in a project like this? So you're really engaging, and these are very engaging questions. And at the end of the interview, it's really important you can really flatline here, or you can win the interview, because a lot of the time the decision is about very similar people with similar skills levels, and what you're trying to add is the what else. Are you tying into the company culture? Are you tying into the company values? Do I think you're going to fit in here? Are you eager? The eager people will really win the interview if you've got that enthusiasm. And sometimes the enthusiasm will come across and be the winner over knowledge. If I think that I can manage you easily, if I think that you are going to be really helpful to me, that if I ask you something, that you're going to be eager and happy to do it. These are the kind of things that managers are are looking for on top of technical skills. Because if you've got a certain level of academic knowledge, then I know that you're capable of learning new things. So that may not be my number one priority. My number one priority here at an interview might be, can you fit in with the team? Do you know what our culture is? Um, are you somebody that's going to be easy to manage or difficult to manage? So they would be big concerns for the manager who would be interviewing you. So the kind of questions you want to ask is this real eagerness. It's about the job description and the company. So things like the salary, yes, you need to know the salary, but if it's already mentioned, fine. Make sure that you see that. If it hasn't been mentioned, don't have it as your first question. And then they may ask you what your salary expectation is. So if they do ask that, make sure you have researched similar roles in the job market at this time. And you can say, well, roles at the moment have a starting salary. They range between a starting salary of 25,000 to 35, depending on knowledge and experience. So I assume that you're going to be working within those parameters. So that's how you handle that kind of question about salary. They don't ask questions about travel and promotions. They're so commonly asked, and they come across as um, quite even boring to interviewers, because I don't know if I'm going to give you the job, so why would I know whether I'm going to promote you or whether you're going to leave me? So really, if you're going for an interview, the person interviewing you wants you to stay in that area and that department for at least 6 months, at least minimum even a year, because I'm going to invest time in you. I'm going to invest training in you, and I don't want to have to keep doing this over and over and over and over again within a 12-month period. So I want to feel a sense of loyalty, a sense of I really want to be in this department. I really want to contribute. I really want to learn as much as I can. So they're the kind of feelings that you need to put across at an interview. Now we're just going to move on to the STAR story. So here there is this model. Some of you may have heard of it. Now there are some worksheets on Moodle, and I'll show you where those are shortly. So this is competency-based interviewing. So it covers situation, task, action, and result. So when you're asked specific questions, this is the format that you are expected to answer it in. It's very commonly used, and it's used because you not only tell me your skills in one area, you tend to, when you're telling these stories, tell me skills in many areas. So these questions start very much like, can you give me an example of when you had to use your presenting skills? Or can you give me an example of when you had to deal with a difficult situation? Or can you talk me through a particularly challenging problem that you had to resolve? And so, what I want you to do then is start with the situation, and then I want you to move into the task, the action, and the result. So, the situation, it might be a class situation, it might be saying that once upon a time in class, it was our software development class, and we had a problem that we needed to resolve in Java using whatever. The task, the action, really important here. What did you do? How did you approach this? How did you resolve this situation? So, a good way to approach this action bit is to say, first, I did this and this didn't work. Then I did this and this didn't work. Then I did something else and that worked, and that took me to B, C, and D. So it shows you have a very logical minded approach to answering questions. And the last bit then is the results bit. So the result bit then is that how things worked out and how everything kind of resolved itself. So it's a very common format, but what you do need to do is to write these examples out. Communication skills, customer service skills, a time you had to work effectively as part of a team, a time you had to solve a difficult problem, deal with a difficult customer, show that you were innovative. So these are the type of things, and they are always in the job description. So if you look at the job description, it'll tell you the kind of stories, these star stories that you need to prepare for your interview. So I hope that makes sense, but do ask questions. So have specific evidence-based examples of the key skills identified in the job description, usually under the heading job
I'm
requirements,
sorry,
or else it could come under key skills.
Annie.
Hello, you
Hi,
okay?
I'm okay. Can you just go
Yeah,
back to the another slide, please? The another one. Oh, wait,
this
the
one,
star.
yeah.
Yes, please.
Uh,
No, no, no. Sorry.
yeah,
Oh, the stars. Yeah.
this one,
Yes,
the
the
star
stars.
story. Yeah, 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 yeah.
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 So in that case, I will prepare myself for the interview with the job description, and like they will ask me about my background in my like in my situation, for example. So I don't have any experience on that area, that career. I'm trying to build a new career. So I will tell them that I don't have any experience, but I can tell them
Of
about my skills that are quite similar, or maybe can I my skills can match. Okay. And
yeah.
and
What kind of example here? What is this? Is what? Give me an example. What skill are you suggesting they might be asking you about?
for example, I need to do like I'm looking for the work as export assistant, and I have experience as human resource management. So I can tell them that I can deal with
Yeah.
customers, and I can solve
Yeah.
some issues. I have knowledge and
Mhm.
some technique
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
get more credibility. Can I say things like this?
Yeah. So yeah, and usually the star story will just be about dealing with customers or resolving a situation or customer service
Mhm.
skills. So they'll be a little bit more generic. Now, in the interview itself, you may be asked about, do you have any import-export experience? And this is where, and you'll notice also from the CV, this is where I encourage students to work on personal projects. So if this is an area you really want to work in, make sure you're looking up some maybe free online learning courses around import export in Ireland.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Look
doing
up
it
the
as well.
jobs. Is there
Okay.
any yeah, is there any particular software, is there any particular application that keeps coming up for those jobs? And that will give you an indication of what you need to be doing in addition to your college work. So for example, say a lot of the import export jobs required people to have some kind of project management software. So then that would highlight to you that that's what you need to start researching in terms of doing an online course in some kind of project management software.
Ah,
So you
okay.
can get, by looking up the jobs, you're going to get a blueprint of the things that you need now to be adding to your CV. And it's fine to just have started something. So I always say to students, if I see the job description and they're missing a particular skill, so let's say again it's some project management. So under then on your CV, you would be saying under continued professional development or additional learning 2020, and then in brackets ongoing. So it means you've started but you haven't finished, then a hyperlink to the project management course that you're doing online, and then the number of hours, say it's 10 hours, 20 hours,
Okay, so
whatever it is. So then I can click on the link and I can see what you're doing, and I can also see that you've started, and your keyword is now there. So your CV has that as a requirement for this job.
okay, so it's much better.
Does that make
I
sense?
show the knowledge, the abilities that I get with my course, the online course, instead of to give some information about my experiences, because I'm doing online course as well. So it's much better to show what I'm
Both
both.
both will be really good.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Both will be good. The star story, yeah, the star stories tend to be more generic, so it'll be about maybe tell me about a time where you had to deal with a difficult customer. So that's quite generic, and you can use any examples for that, or where you had to build relationships with customers, or you had to resolve issues. Or you were a coordinator or a liaison person between different people. So those kind of stories can come from any experience. But again, if you don't have work experience per se in a particular area, and this is the area now you want to work in, absolutely sure, look up the jobs. Is there anything missing? That dictates what your online learning should be. And also, if you have time, if you can do a personal project or integrated personal project that focuses on a company that does the kind of thing that you want to do, or a role, and if you can incorporate that into either final year projects, your college work, or a particular personal project, then you're kind of hitting the criteria for them without having to have actually worked in that situation. And the final thing then is also joining meetup groups that are anyway linked to that kind of business.
Like,
And
I'm
because
sorry
they're a
to,
great way to network, to talk to people.
yeah. So I'm
No,
sorry
it's fine.
for interrupt you all the time. It's only I already applied one
No,
assignment
no, it's
that
fine.
that I did. So was about that assignment was about the a HTL expression. Uh, ex- so that company is the a really good top on the market for with supply chain, about supply chain. And
Okay,
I
brilliant. Yeah.
so can I use it?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'd even do is maybe make a quick 2 or 3 minute YouTube video from the key points of your presentation. I put the presentation notes on SlideShare.
Okay.
Not all of it, maybe top slides, your key findings, who you based your research on, um, what you found out, and then also maybe a short video of yourself presenting,
Okay.
and they can be two key links. Then you can post those onto LinkedIn. You can have them as hyperlinks on your CV, and they're tying into where you want to work. So that's a really good idea. All right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. No worries. Okay, so have specific evidence-based examples. So as I say, and I'm going to show you in a second where you can download a worksheet that I've put up on Moodle to help you just to you really do need to write out these stories because you need to think about them, and you maybe need to ask your friends or your co-workers, oh, can you think of a time where I had to, deal with a difficult situation? Or can you think of a time in class where I had to, resolve a complex problem? Because your friends will remember far more than you will most of the time. So you do need to ask people to help you with these kind of answers. But once you've got the core 4 or 5, so they'll always come up with maybe problem solving, teamwork, communication, customer service, maybe innovation, maybe project management, depending on the role. But there are a core number. So if you have 5 or 6 of these examples ready, you're going into an interview, with a good bit of research and preparation. So key skills. So these are some of the current key skills. So it might be good to think of some star stories around these. Maybe something that you innovated, an idea you came up with, some problem solving. Diversity should be quite easy for all of our CCT students because we're quite a diverse college. Ability to embrace change, interpersonal skills, team player, and customer focus. So they may be ones that you could create some examples. So remember situation, task, action, and result. Because what happens sometimes is when you're asked these questions, like I might say, "Oh, tell me about a time where you had to resolve a complex problem," and you might go, "Well." the Excel sheet didn't work and there was a problem with the formula. It was a problem given out to the class, and I managed to come up with fixing the formula. So you've gone straight to the action and you've missed the beginning and the middle. Okay, so I'm lost in this answer. I'm going, oh, well, where were you? What? Explain, and I'm lost. So you need to set up the story. So the S bit would be, well, one of our modules in my business degree is accounting, and one of our lectures a month ago, we had a specific problem around using Excel and advanced Excel to calculate some numbers on a fictitious case study we were working on. They were some errors in the formulas that our lecturer had purposely put into the spreadsheet for us to be able to decipher and to resolve. And so I looked, and here the formula, whatever you needed to do to the formula, needed to be fixed, and I was able to do it. So you're setting up the situation, task, action, and result, and we were able to move on with the class. So it was good kudos for you. So remember that situation, task, action, result. So the good reason that people use this is that if you don't speak a lot, it forces you to expand your answers because you need to go to the situation, task, action, and result. And if you speak too much and you go off track a lot when you're answering, and some of us do that when we're nervous, is it reins you in. So all of a sudden you realize you've been speaking for 60 seconds and you haven't answered the question. So you can go, okay, S, where am I? TA, or okay, I need to get to the task, the action, and the result now really quickly. So it's a good way to memorize answers and a good way to rein you in or make you expand your answers, whichever side of the fence you're on there. So just prepare, really do prepare. And a great way to prepare, which I find works really well, is you and do this, because I know for some of you that English isn't your first language. So make sure you ask yourself the question out loud and you answer it out loud. Because if you're answering the question in your head, you don't realize these kind of long silences where you're going, this kind of thing. So when you're asking the question out loud to yourself or answering it out loud to yourself, you know if you don't have it sharp enough, you know if you're being too slow in answering the question, you know if there's a delayed pause, and you need to work on that. So you just need to keep repeating the questions, asking and answering. And it also helps you with your voice projection and your confidence. So just remember, have your questions and just keep asking yourself questions and answering them. While you're hoovering or driving the car or at the gym, ask the question, and it's really going to help how you deliver the answers. So there we go. Rehearse out loud. Keep it relevant. So keep on point. Remember STAR, situation, task, action, result. And it will try and just bring everything back to the job description and the company. Don't go off tangent. If the interviewer wants to go off track, that's fine. Go there with them. Other than that, if you find, oh gosh, I've gone off track, get back to the job description, get back to the company. Attention to detail. So know and be able to discuss in detail your personal projects, class projects, achievements, job description, your CV, and the company. So just remember those 6 key areas. Show enthusiasm. Talk passionately about what you're interested in. Remember to smile. Remember to really show eagerness. It's very easy, and just test it. When you start talking to a friend of yours about something they're really passionate about, you can just see their eyes open and they get so involved, and they're really, that they're talking about something they love. So you need to kind of bring that across when you're in an interview. And as I say, enthusiasm will win the day over technical skills and knowledge. If think of the manager that's interviewing you, think about the company culture, think about them wanting somebody to fit in, and sometimes they don't mind training, they don't mind showing you the ropes, They don't mind giving you a little bit of extra help if they think you're the right fit. So it's really important to remember that. Practice makes perfect. So if you're afraid of interviewing, well, get there and start applying for jobs and just get the interviews over with, because practice makes perfect. Interview for everything you possibly can. It really is. It's a skill and you do get better at it. Ask for feedback. So at the end of the interview, when they're asking you for, do you have any questions? Of course, you say, yes, I do. Here are my questions I prepared earlier. You take your sheet out and you go, number one, and off you go. And you're talking about the company, you're talking about the job description, and you're going to say something like, do you need clarity on anything? Is there anything that I answered earlier that you need a little bit more information on? So here now you're allowing yourself the opportunity to go back and make up for maybe at the beginning of the interview you were a little unsteady, you didn't answer a question as well as you thought you could, and you're allowing yourself to answer the question again. So it's a great little add in there. And also say, I would love some feedback. I'm really interested in this role. This is the type of job I really want. Obviously, I'd love this role with your company, but the feedback would be invaluable to me because I will be back again. I am applying for similar jobs. So anything you can tell me would be very constructive to help me to get these jobs in the future. So it's a great thing. And if you do, I'm not saying you always get feedback, but always, always, always ask for it. So quick little video here. Hopefully you can see it. So if it goes to video and you can't see it, just let me know. This is some power posing. So you can see here you've got the powerful poses, and then you've got the not powerful poses. And you can see here, these are the kind of poses we might have when we're sitting waiting to be interviewed. So what we should be doing is being big, just shaking it out and projecting energy. So Paddy talks about these interview power poses. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's a big researcher and Harvard lecturer, and she's come up with this power posing research, which really helps, and it really helps in interviews along with many other areas. Hopefully, the link will work. If not, post this. There she is. I think I have it here. So, guys, can you see this? Just to make sure you can. Can you just turn on your mic and let me know if you can see the video?
No, only the picture. The video, no. We are not able to see. No.
No, you can't
now
hear
yes.
it now. No.
Now yes.
Okay.
Now yeah, the video. But like it's the internet is not working properly.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
maybe
it's a
you can
30-second clip, but
do you know?
I'll post it. I'll post it on. I'll just put it on the slide.
Okay, or you can like just
and I'll link to it.
Copy the link and send to us from the message.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, let's do that. Good plan. But I'll also add it in the, I can just add it onto the slides. But this is just a 30-second video clip. She does much longer ones, but I obviously don't want to take up the time doing the longer ones right now. Let me just go back here. I'll add that into the chat in a second. It's just taking a minute. Okay, just escape for now. Anyway, this is Amy Cuddy, and she talks about power posing, and it's very interesting. So you'll see here she's done TED Talks. A game changer. There's a 5-minute clip. There's a 6-minute clip. Well worth listening to. It's about how you use these power poses to just come across far more authentic in interview situations and any other situations, presenting as well, to improve it. It regulates your cortisol and your adrenaline in a way that makes you just come across more confidently. So it's well worth it. It's well researched. You basically stand up for 3 minutes in a kind of a superwoman pose. So maybe you do that in the toilets at the interview, not in the reception. But the research says that it actually works. So do give it a go or have a listen. Okay, so where you can find more information, Moodle, OLS. Okay, so you go down to course categories, and then you come down, and my section is the second one down, called Career Advice. Okay, so just course categories on the main page when you're into Moodle. And number 2, after general student information, is career advice. So you just click in there, and then you've access to all my resources, and you'll see there's quite a few on interviews. Here's a sample interview of questions that are common for interviews. So it's a really good one to print out and fill in yourselves, and just keep it with any interviews you're doing. So it's a little bit of preparation, and it includes some room there to include some star stories. Let me just see if I have one open there. Maybe not. Nope. Nope. Okay. So yeah, so you can just download this sample on Moodle, and then that's it there again. Career guidance, templates and tips. So it's in there. There's interview questions, 64 tough interview questions, interview tips, questions to ask at recruitment events, interview competency-based questions, which is the star story. Competency. Are you competent in the skills that you say you are? And it's a way of really kind of digging a little bit deeper into that. So that's the end of today's lecture. So if you've got any questions, I would be glad to answer. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a minute, and I do want to also tell you a little bit about the other types of interviews that are out there. So we also have group interviews. So when you have a group interview, the most important thing to remember in a group interview is say something. It's really important to say something. So the best approach is to contribute. Okay, you always in group interviews have people who won't stop talking, and they keep kind of almost shouting to get their point across. So what you need to do is, you don't even necessarily have to remember people's names, but you need to refer to somebody. So what you want to prove in a group interview is that you're listening to people's opinions and that you're adding something. So you might want to make a comment, and what you're going to do is maybe say, well, I agree with John's point over there. Or if you don't remember the name, say, I agree with that gentleman over there in the grey sweatshirt, but I'd like to add by saying, and I also agree with that lady Susan, or the lady with the green sweater over there. She had a great point as well. And just in addition, I'd like to say whatever. Okay, so that's the technique with group interviews. You must say something, and if you can be the person who's including the views, adding to the views, and incorporating from what other people have said, that comes across really well. Telephone interviews, stand up. You come across more confidently when you're standing up. You can have all the information posted on the walls around your room. Make sure that you have good internet access, that you have a good telephone line, and it's a quiet place. And then put all the information up around the walls. You're on the phone, and you can pace a bit. and you're going to get into the groove, and you're better off to be standing on a telephone call and you have access to the information. Video calls, again, you could have information around the side of your screen. Be careful, there's usually a clock somewhere on it. So if you've done a video interview, some of you might not. Keep an eye on the clock so that you're answering the questions. It can be a bit intimidating. Again, as practice makes perfect with these kind of things. And just remember to keep an eye on the time and make sure you're getting some relevant points across, and they should be available from the job description. And then, of course, if you're in IT, there's going to be some whiteboarding and technical interviews. I have some videos again up on my section in Moodle on whiteboarding. But a big key thing is with whiteboarding that you're not turning around, and it's not up to you to solve the whole problem on your own. And people think they need to do that. It's a team event, so don't be afraid. And what is good and what people expect is that you start interacting with the interviewers, asking for a little bit more information, teasing out the idea a bit more. Have you considered this? Have you considered that? Okay, so am I right in saying this? You want this to happen and this to happen? It's a conversation. Think about most IT work, you're working in teams and groups. You need to be able to communicate. So they're not just looking for the answer, they're looking at how you get to the answer. And sometimes getting the answer right is not the most important thing. It's how you get there. They want to see your thought process, and are you teasing things out with other people? So again, just bear that in mind. Any questions, guys? I hope that was useful. I know there's lots of stuff on interviews. I would say download the worksheet on Moodle and fill it in, and try and improve on those star stories all the time. So if you come up with a better story, great. But just come up with some stories so you have these like your arsenal when you're going for an interview, that you go with the stuff, and keep the stuff in your bag. If you're going to an interview, keep the answer stuff with you. Don't take it out and put it on the table. But sometimes people just go completely blank, and they know they've been up all night researching and their mind goes blank. So just say that. It's much better to go, you know what, I was up all night last night or for hours. I know this. My head has gone blank. I haven't had an interview in a while, and I've been a bit nervous, and I'm just going to take my notes out and just do it. If you get to that situation, hopefully you won't. Much better to do that than just go, I can't remember, and you don't have a fallback. And sometimes even the fact that you know you've got the answers in your bag, it's like the shopping list. You'll remember the answer. So I hope they're useful tips, but do let me know if you've got any questions. I'm going to just go check the chat now. Oh, Diane, can you hear me? Oh gosh, I hope you did. I'm only seeing that now. Sent the link. Oh yeah, okay. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to just turn off the recording now, but I'm going to oh, hang on. Yeah, you've sent me a link, haven't you, for the video? Brilliant. Anything with Amy Cuddy is going to be good. I'm just going to check that now. There's loads on her. I just showed you a 30-second clip, but if you're going to watch it yourselves, guys, I would say that that you pick a longer clip. Yeah, Amy Cuddy, 30 seconds on power poses. Do check out the other ones. She does a nice TED talk, and she does longer ones. It's just a real snapshot. So if you're going to look, just look up anything. I'm just going to give you her name, Amy Cuddy. Okay. So just have a look. And it really does help. It can help for presenting. So if you've got to do final year presentations, well worth having a look as well. Any other questions, guys? Oops. Okay, so thanks for joining in. If you don't have any other questions,
I'm okay. Yeah,
we can wrap it up.
thanks so much for it.